What was that? The king's caught me by surprise. Has he found out about my connection to Wales? No. Impossible. I never told Floki. Even if he was aware of it, the king wouldn't redirect his entire army just to antagonize me. So, coincidence maybe? Well, no matter, I suppose. The problem is that Wales will be a sea of fire come spring. Come on, think. Hurry. There's no time. What can I do to stop this? Have the prince lead a revolution? No. We'd only count on Thorkel's 500 to support us. They'd beat us with sheer numbers. I could bring a few generals to our side, but it would take time. What if I incited the English to take up arms again? No. Wales would still become the field of battle. Violence isn't the answer here. Besides, in all the commotion, the king could easily send an assassin to eliminate Canute.
Alright guys, so I was pretty excited to do this one, as this character is probably the most well written anime characters ever created. That character being Askeladd from Vinland Saga. He has solidified his place in my top 10 best characters of all time. What makes his character so compelling, in my view, is the complexity and consistency depicted on screen. In his debut into the series, Askeladd immediately steals the show, fighting the legendary Thors, or known by his enemies, Thors the Troll, due to his high battle IQ and otherworldly strength. Askeladd realizes that Thors is a much more physically domineering fighter, and instead of using brute force, Askeladd leans onto his superior intellect to catch Thors off guard, leaving him open for an attack. This is just one of the many instances Askeladd displays his cunning and intelligence in battle. Askeladd is a very capable fighter. He has an average build for a Danish Viking, a lean but muscular frame. Don't let his size fool you, as Askeladd is freakishly strong, one of his strength feats being able to cut a fully grown man in half. He is also able to go toe-to-toe with Thors for a while during their duel. Askeladd's fighting style is primarily focused on agility/speed, as well as counters and peerless swordsmanship. He will not hesitate to use whatever means necessary to win though, basically an all is fair in love and war mentality. He is always strategizing, even in the midst of battle, and if his plans A, B, and C don't work, he is shown being capable of intuitively improvising, often risking it all on a gamble. This is seen the very first time he is depicted on screen. Askeladd uses Thor's son, Thorfinn, as a hostage and failsafe to ensure his victory over Thors. Askeladd is a Welsh-Danish Viking. His real name is Lucius Artorius Castus, which he claims was from an ancient legendary warrior and descendant with the same name on his mother's side. His mother loved the story of the legendary warrior so much, she named her son after him. The name Askeladd, or Ashenlad, came from him always being covered in ash, doing several manual labor jobs as a child. Askeladd is the prodigal son, through and through. He has several talents which range from being a highly skilled swordsman, fighter, charismatic, and even cunning/manipulative. All of these skills, however, pale in comparison to his greatest and most dangerous one, that being his high-level intellect and his innate ability to strategize and adapt. He also seems to have this uncanny ability to know what kind of person someone is just by looking at their face. For those of you who read the Bible, this is known as reading someone's countenance, which can be described as a spiritual ability, given that you are reading an individual's spirit. If I had to sum up Askeladd's character, I would describe him as a natural-born leader, someone who has the necessary intangibles of a rulership mentality. He looks at life like he's playing four-dimensional chess. His modus operandi is to conquer, and by any means necessary. No tactic too dirty, no deed too devious. which means he will use anyone to achieve his agenda and cares little about morality. If the ends justify the means was a character, you're looking at him. With all that being said, Askeladd is a master level manipulator. From his youth, he has shown the ability to plan several steps ahead. He often tricks his adversaries by playing a role and waiting for his opportunity to strike. He is also an expert actor, putting on a facade of arrogance or boredom, just acting unawares. This in turn makes his enemies lower their guard, thus allowing him to take advantage of the situation and achieve victory. In spite of the damning evidence, Askeladd does have a heart. He cares deeply for his mother, his homeland Wales, and the people that live there. His quest ultimately is a noble one, to keep his country safe from outside Viking invasions. Yes, you heard that right. All the death, destruction, manipulation, and deceit was for a greater purpose other than himself. This is the focal point of his character, and what makes his motivations not only feel more real, but relatable. This is how you write an excellent character, to make you strongly disdain a character in the beginning, only for you to damn near shed a tear for them in the end. In terms of morality, I believe Askeladd is far from a hero, but not quite evil enough to be a villain. He is a very nuanced character, and just from my perspective, I would label him as an anti-hero. Someone who has a heroic or noble purpose, but doesn't mind walking the dark path to achieve it. I really can't stress this enough when I say Askeladd is the epitome of whatever it takes to get the bag. This man was even willing to wipe out an entire village because it would have been an inconvenience to his goal if he allowed them to live. And honestly, that's pretty evil. To kill basically a small city full of innocents because they were quote unquote in the way, this represents man's dark and often evil nature, but it's also what makes his character more grounded in realism. Contrary to popular belief, Askeladd doesn't actually enjoy violence for violence's sake. Unlike his Viking contemporaries, he enjoys battles and duels, but with a purpose. Everything this guy does is with a purpose. No move wasted, no misstep. Truly a chess master at the highest degree. Throughout the show, he is never shown actually drunk or even with women, implying he also is a man seemingly without any vices, and takes himself and his goals very seriously. And as we know, a man without vices is a very dangerous man indeed. Askeladd was the very definition of a warrior, at least a true Viking warrior. He never forsake himself or his purpose, and at almost a delusional level of belief in himself, to the point where his men put their complete trust in him. Askeladd always seemed to make the best decisions, especially in the heat of battle. He was called insane and crazy several times by his own men because of his indomitable will to win, no matter the cost to himself or his own army. If you were a Viking, you would see no greater honor than to follow a man to risk even himself for a greater purpose. His charisma, genius-level intellect, and latent battle prowess are what made men want to respect and follow his lead. Being a savant tactician, Askeladd would map out scenarios in his head several times in order to accurately deduce how each situation will be most beneficial in his favor. Due to how he lived his life, he was unable to trust anyone, often literally sleeping with one eye open. And in my honest opinion, I believe his distrust in others and narcissistic levels of belief in only himself are his major character flaws. Although he was able to achieve great feats in his lifetime, it was mainly through usury and ill-gotten means, which ultimately weighs heavy on your spirit. I believe this is why we see him age noticeably quicker throughout the series, not just because of the hard Viking lifestyle, but also due to the iniquities weighing and bogging down heavily on his spirit. He is able to persevere and push past his sins, which is a very commendable trait among many. He rarely reflects back on his past decisions, mainly living in the present and looking toward the future, unless it is dealing with how he grew up or living in his homeland, which again shows his love for Wales. I mean, honestly, I can go on at length about this character, but hopefully I've made an adequate enough case about why this character is one of my favorites. Honestly though, this, in my humble opinion, is one of the more well-written anime characters within the last decade. The gifted but tragic anti-hero, Lucius Artorius Castus, aka Askeladd.